being those strong men, being those assertive men that implemented their will through power, because that's what we're called to be. And when we strip that away, we see a weakening in standards, we see a weakening in values, and therefore we see a weakening in society where nobody knows their identity because we've stripped away the power of men. Gentlemen, what's going on? This is the Better Man channel where we're proud to be men. We're not going to allow society to diminish the very role of what it means to be man. We're going to continually raise the bar and unleash that badass man that was within us, so that we reach a potential, we find some meaning, we find purpose to life. We're not going to exist on lower levels of living just because it hurts someone feeling that we're being man, that we're being better, that we're being bigger, that we're being stronger, that we're actually progressing. I have a clip here from a young feminist woman. We're going to go into that, and then we'll come back and see what she has to say.
Today I want to share an amazing quote by Andrea Dworkin, in which she says the argument between wives and whores is an old one, each one thinking that whatever she is, at least she is not the other. This quote is one of my favorite quotes in feminist theory ever, because it highlights such a huge part of modern misogyny. Oppressors within the patriarchy will do everything they can to invalidate the oppressed. This is done by creating a system in which nothing we do is accepted. Everything we do is seemingly a byproduct of our womanhood, and therefore invalid. So long as they can invalidate us for every interest, every belief, every opinion, they can invalidate our experience and our existence. This is essentially why you see so many men on this app claiming that no girls could have any real interests, and whatever they do is simply to gain the attention and attraction of cis men. We must fight to dismantle these thought processes within the oppressors. And if you are someone who upholds the patriarchy, you must think twice before participating in this misogynistic rhetoric.
So that's what a large proportion of men, that's what society is facing today. That's the narrative that everybody's looking for a reason to be oppressed, right? Everybody's looking for a reason why life's not fair, and surely it's not me, it's got to be everybody else. So we're coming up with excuses to justify the reasons why we're stuck, why we're stagnant, maybe why we're even lazy. And so this young woman's talking about the patriarch and how it oppresses. And okay, I'll bite. Let's go with that. But if we're going to accept that patriarch causes all these oppressions, that if it's the supreme ruler, then also all the good things that came from patriarchy, we as men are responsible for that as well. If men in patriarch and this patriarchal system has oppressed you and caused these bad things, and it's the ruling system, then it's also caused all these great innovations. It's caused all the things that you take pleasure in. Patriarchy has set up a system where you have freedom of speech. Patriarchy has set up the system that allowed innovations for that very phone and the technology you're using to bitch and complain about how you're oppressed instead of actually getting up and doing something about it. And I think when we can have this communication between man and woman, that okay, if we're blaming men and the patriarchal system for all the faults, then on that same spectrum, it must be responsible for all the good things. And I believe when we begin to take a look and an insight in that, we say, okay, maybe not all men are oppressive. Maybe the system isn't even oppressive. That's just how it's evolved. And from the beginning of the time, it wasn't out of oppression that the patriarchal system evolved or that man evolved stronger. It was out of necessity. From the beginnings of time, men physically being stronger took that role. They defended against the evil tribes coming to steal the women. They set up the shelters and they did the things that required strength because they are man. That's how we evolved. Blame the universe, evolution, God, what have you, but do not blame man for being man. We see these male feminists, we see these feminists blaming men for just who they are. And no wonder there's confusion and chaos and a generation of men just scratching their heads, stepping away, saying, what the hell? You know, it's toxic to be man, but this is what I am. And there's this innate intrinsic nature within me to unleash that and to harness that and cultivate it. But they're telling me that it's toxic and that it's unnecessary and that I've oppressed them in some manner. Hell, I don't even know them. And that's the state of many a man. And the very power of what it means to be man is stripped away. And feminists are stripping away the very power of what it means to be women. Instead of this divisive language, instead of this divisive culture, why don't we come together and say, man is man, woman is woman, how are we going to evolve from that? And yes, the key word evolve. We don't want to be stuck in some chauvinistic ways, right? We've grown intellectually. We've grown in this cultural sense that we know women are more capable than maybe what men of past placed upon them, and that men have evolved as well. They're not chauvinistic assholes, they're just men. Can we have this middle ground where we come together and communicate in a traditional sense? And I grown up from a small community where it's more conservative, so a lot of the feminists and this new wave of wokeism hasn't infiltrated so much. So my viewpoint may be limited compared to outside external circumstances in that context. But I think we need to have this overarching communication where we say, men are not the problem. Humans being flawed and making mistakes, that could be a problem, but men have just adopted the role of manhood throughout the course of time, being those strong men, being those assertive men that implemented their will through power because that's what we're called to be. And when we strip that away, we see a weakening in standards, we see a weakening in values, and therefore we see a weakening in society where nobody knows their identity because we've stripped away the power of men to lead. Men are born, men are created to be those leaders that say this is our standard. And we don't get to meet the rewards of that standard if we haven't put in the duty. There's no privilege without commitment to what it takes to be better. And in a society where we've effeminized men and we emasculated men, so they're no longer leaders, we have this emotional sense that says, well, let's make everybody feel okay. And that's the emotional side of this feminist movement. Let's everybody fit in. Let's all be inclusive. But a society that's inclusive has no honor code. And when you lower the bar so that everyone can meet the code, you lower the standards. Therefore, you lower the output, the result, the consequences from that. Think of it in this manner. If I said that the new health standard is it's okay to be 50 pounds overweight, well, what are the consequences of that? We see a culture where everybody's overweight that has an impact on our health, our confidence. We're not able to move. We're not able to progress. We're not stronger. We're not better. We're lazy. So when we diminish the role of men, we're actually diminishing that competitive spirit to be more, to be better. We're lowering the bar so that everyone can fit in, but we don't realize the consequences of that. We're lowering the standards of society. We see the very diminishing of the spirit of society to be more. America once upheld that. Let's be competitive more. Let's expand. Let's be the best we can be. And now let's just be average. Let's blame somebody else. Let's claim fat phobia. Let's claim transphobia. Let's claim gender phobia. Let's claim binary phobia. Let's claim phobia instead of claiming that individual sovereignty to get off our ass and to make life better. The patriarchal system, it came from a necessity because men were strong, men were the leaders. And that doesn't mean that we should adopt this chauvinistic mindset that I'm better than you, woman. No, we need to have that middle ground where we realize that the complementary polarities of what it means to be man and woman. We applaud those in each other. We've grown, we've learned, we have a new baseline to build upon. Yes, maybe in the past there were some men that were oppressive, but the patriarchal system in general isn't created to oppress you. It's created so that culture can move along. Men didn't ever say we want to diminish the role of women and push you away and get rid of you. We don't want to steal away the very nature of what you are. We need you. Men love women. Men love beautiful traditional women. Men need women in the sense to procreate and reproduce. We've never wanted to destroy the role of women. We've wanted to make it better. We've wanted to be those providers and protectors that say, here's a very sustainable way of living. Here's a comfortable way of living. So that nature within us says we're here to be leaders, to be those assertive protectors and providers, but men have said that, or women have said that's oppressive. And the patriarchal system is oppressive. We see feminism wanting to come up with excuses of why they feel uncomfortable, why there's discomfort, why there's pain, why life's not fair. Life isn't fair because of men or a patriarchal system. That's life. Bad things happen. You're not the best at everything. You can't be the best. You can't be the most beautiful. You can't be right all of the time. That's not due to the patriarch. Men face that same damn thing every day. We're not the best looking. We're not always the smartest. We're not always the best in the room. We don't point fingers and blame a system. We say that's life. Now what can we do to get better? Feminism is arguing that patriarchy is set out to oppress them. There's some flaws. Can we work on those? Yes, because that's true progression. Progression isn't diminishing the very nature of what it means to be man, to be woman. Progression's actually coming together and say, okay, I see what you mean. Let's go to work on that. And it's going to take men in that leadership assertive role to recourse this direction that feminism is taking us down. They're taking us down this dark, deep pit, this abyss that if we're not careful, we're never going to be able to climb out of it. And because even men are falling victim to this and saying, yeah, these male feminists, yeah, men are wrong, men are bad. Out of necessity, men have rose to that power that women want to claim is oppressive. But on that same logical understanding, rational men are beginning to understand, okay, there may have been some chauvinistic ways in the past. We're learning from those. What can we do to recourse it? But to throw patriarch out the window and set up this culture, this society where men are not needed is setting us up for failure because we're susceptible to external threats. A culture, a society without strong men will not last very long. That is historically proven. We need strong men. We need men as leaders. We need men to be assertive and accept that role, that nature that is man. For these feminist women that feel oppressed for whatever reason, too lazy to get up and just live life, they're wanting to come up with excuses and reasons why life isn't fair. Life's not fair. Get used to it. Get your ass up. Join a system. Help cultivate a system. The very system that gave you the ability to bitch and complain. Is life fair? No. Is the patriarchal system perfect? No. Humans set up systems, humans set up cultures, therefore there's going to be flaws, there's going to be reasons to come up with why it's not fair. Well, let's get up and fix it. And we quit being divisive. Men and women come together united with the same principle of let's move forward together. How about we propose this to the feminist? I'm not sure they're by it because they have this agenda that isn't just about men. It's about becoming better than men, stronger than men. Let's diminish the role of man. It's not about unison. It's not about uniting. I love you guys. I respect you guys. You are a man. Be proud to be man. You guys will hear from me next episode.